Anime-niac, and welcome to another episode of my show. Anime over the years has gone through many changes before becoming what it is today. However, you can still trace almost everything back to a small group of writers and artists who pioneered entire genres. The creations of these men and women are the greats upon which the anime we see today is based. One of these pioneers in particular has always kept my interest with his characters and plot lines. I am of course referring to Go Nagai, creator of series such as Mazinger Z, Getter Robo, as well as Devilman and Cutie Honey. Not only is he one of the original pioneers of the mecha genre, but he also had a hand in the creation of the magical girl genre as well. So, what makes his work so successful? What makes his work so interesting that it's still being remade, borrowed from, and outright parodied even to this day? Every great man has his own rules that he sticks throughout all of his work. So get ready, because today I bring you the Rules of Nagai.
Number 1. Koji is awesome. For those who don't know, Kabuto Koji is the main character and pilot of the Mazinger Z series. He's also quite possibly the most popular and well-known character that Go Nagai has ever created. And for good reason. This is the guy who has been given 3 different machines to pilot since he first appeared, and has been a part of every single sequel and spin-off of the series, even the ones that had nothing to do with him or the Mazinger robots. When he was written out of Great Mazinger, fans everywhere were so upset that the ratings for the series plummeted, so the creators of the show were forced to bring both him and Mazinger Z back for the final battle of the series, just so they could kick some Mikene ass. Hell, they even went so far as to retcon the whole Great Mazinger series, with a movie in which Great Mazinger only appeared for like 2 minutes at the end. In the original Mazinger Z series, there was one episode that just cemented his awesomeness for all of us. In the previous episode, the Pilder, Mazinger Z's cockpit, was heavily damaged, so Koji was unable to use his machine until it was fixed. The villain, Dr. Hale, however, attacked before repairs were finished, forcing Koji to defeat a set of enemy machines on his own, while his support did whatever the hell it is they're doing here. I don't know. Anyways, long story short, he succeeded, proving that Koji was more than just a guy with an overpowered mech. In fact, the better part of the first series was spent with him outside of the cockpit, foiling Dr. Hell and Baron Ashura's plots. Not to mention he's a major character in Grendizer, apparently having been smart enough to build his own spaceship. And I won't even get into the awesomeness that is Mazinger Kaiser right now, though I must say, just being the pilot of that machine makes him one of the greatest mech pilots of all time. In the new series, Shin Mazinger, at first I thought they watered him down a bit at the beginning of the series. But as of episode 11, I must say there are quite a few moments where the Koji we all know and respect comes shining through. Kabuto Koji, truly one of the greatest Super Robot pilots of all time. Is it any wonder why most Super Robot Wars games tend to show him as the leader figure among the pilots? Number 2. Musashi will die. Okay, this refers back to the final episode of the original Getter Robo series, where Musashi, one of the 3 pilots that make up the Getter team, sacrificed himself in the most retardedly awesome scene ever to defeat the entire enemy army. He was later replaced by Benkei in the sequel series, Getter Robo G, but fans of the series never quite forgot the shock of Musashi's death. Fast forward to a few decades later, and there have been many sequels and retellings of the series. However, in every single one of them, despite being a fan favorite, Musashi always makes an appearance in one way or another, and always ends up dying. It's usually something to look forward to, though, as he dies in the most epic ways possible.
Go Nagai himself has even admitted that Musashi is his favorite character, and is quoted as saying that he always enjoys coming up with new ways for him to die in each series.
The only possible exception to the rule is a new Getter-Robo, but then again, it's not technically Musashi in that series. For this series, they combined Musashi and Benkei into one character, so it technically doesn't count. Number 3. There will be motorcycles. Lots of motorcycles. I don't really know what to say about this rule, except that Nagai must have been really good friends with Ishinomori Shotaro. His series have motorcycles everywhere. I'd even go so far as to say that most of his shows have more motorcycles than a Kamen Rider series. And that's hard to do. I mean, all of his characters ride motorcycles. The recurring comedic relief character from the Mazinger series is the leader of a bike gang. The main characters of both Kotetsu Jig as well as its sequel Kotetsu Shin Jig are both motorcycle racers. Koji is damn skilled on a bike, so is the entire Getter team apparently. Even the cockpit for Sayaka's second machine, Diana A, is a motorcycle. And let's not forget that the entire head of the second Jig transforms from a motorcycle. Even the Pilder, Mazinger Z's cockpit, was originally supposed to be a motorcycle when the machine was first designed by Nagai. There's a reason for that. Number 4. Getter Team trumps all. Even though Koji is the most popular and skilled character Nagai has ever made, the Getter Team has to get some sort of mention. Alone, all of them are pretty awesome, but when they're together, they rival even Koji. When the three of them are piloting a Getter-Robo model together, there is nothing that can stand in their way. In the Shin Getter-Robo manga, when Getter-Robo G was stolen, the three of them went to retrieve the original model, which had been unused and stored in a museum, almost completely unarmed. They then proceeded to face off against Getter G, a machine with 10 times the power of the original when they're both at full power, which the original wasn't at that point, and then proceeded to beat it with pure skill. One of the anime even tried to replicate this moment not once, but twice. One of which times was Ryoma single-handed. I think quite possibly one of the greatest fights of all time would be Kabuto Koji versus the Getter team. Doesn't matter which of their mechs you give them, it'd be a fight to see. No matter how many times you replace them with a new cast, you just can't beat the original Getter team. Well, except for Musashi, of course. Musashi! Number 5. Reversed hero-villain roles from mainstream.
In most series nowadays, it's common to see overpowered villains and heroes who have to rise up against the odds to beat them. However, in most Nagai series, it's exactly the opposite. The heroes are the ones who have the godly overpowered machines, and the villains have to come up with the brilliant plans in every episode to even think about standing a chance. This led to some of the greatest episodes ever to be seen in an old series, just because of the villain's strategies.
Meet Dr. Hell, the villain from the Mazinger Z series. He was the greatest villain ever to be concocted by Nagai, and he stood the test of time. He was such a good villain, they had to bring him back for the end of Great Mazinger, as well as the entire Mazinger Kaiser series, no matter how unlikely it was for him to have survived the previous series. Dr. Hell was the first mecha series villain to ever think, hey, since we can't seem to beat the good guy's mech in a fight, how about we just kill the pilot before he can get in the cockpit? The only reason he failed, time and time again, was due to general incompetence on the part of his minions, as well as being directly confronted by the undefeatable awesomeness that is Koji. Despite being the greatest villain, though, I think my favorite plots have to be from the Getter-Robo G, the sequel to Getter-Robo. Though the villains themselves were kind of lame on their own, their plans were just always so out there, beyond the common sense that limits most villains. Things like, hey, we just stole a truckload of uranium. What are we going to use it for? Nuclear landmines! And then my favorite, the kidnapping of a number of oil tankers from the middle of the ocean and modifying them for flight, just for the purpose of suicide bombing them into the side of the mountain where the good guy's base was.
I would love to see a modern anime villain try and top that.